Steph Garcia-Cichosz with the One Question Leadership Podcast, and how exciting we are here on post in Lexington with Virginia Military Institute Director of Athletics, Jamaal Walton. Jamaal, thank you so much for hosting us.
Steph, it was a no-brainer. I wanted to have you here. You're at the Institute, raw Virginia Mill. That's kind of what we say to get things started, so thank you.
Well, I'm excited to kick this off. You are almost at your 2-year mark here at the Big Chair, and this is your alma mater.
Yes.
You were a student athlete here, decorated scholar. What has surprised you the most about returning here as the AD?
You know what surprised me the most is there's still some faculty and staff that are around. You know, Lance Fujiwara, who oversees our sports medicine department, he was my athletic trainer, and he's here still working. My faculty advisor is still here. So just the people that love VMI, it shows why they stay, because this is a special place. So that's probably the thing that makes me pinch myself. Sometime I'll walk out and I'm like, I remember you were taping my legs, man, you know, now we're still working together.
You maybe get confused of, am I the AD or am I still the football player?
Yeah.
Which role am I in right now?
And I actually stay on post. So being able to interact, I walk out and I look at the barracks and I'm like, man, I spent 4 years in there and now I'm like helping these cadet athletes and cadets move forward. So it's cool.
That's amazing. Take us through the moment when you heard that this position was open. I'm just so curious. I think every alum who is a student athlete or who loved their sports at their school, that's their dream, to go back and lead their department. And you had the chance to do that. So when the opening was announced, what was your first reaction? Who did you talk to first?
Yeah, well, I got a text, but I also saw the D1 ticker, and it said that the AD was leaving at VMI. So the first person I spoke to was my wife. We were watching the NFL football game. I'm a big Baltimore Ravens fan. And I'm like, man, do I really want to do this? And I thought about it, and my wife was kind of not in. But then she learned a little bit more about VMI. So once she was all in, I was like, this is what I want to do. I've always wanted to be a Division I athletic director, but to come back to my alma mater, that was special. And I just was like, it makes sense.
How did you know you were ready?
You know what? Being around a lot of people, great leaders in the space, Jen Cohen, Matt Roberts. I was just in the room and I felt this was the time to do it, especially at a place that I knew a little bit about. I think that helps. I knew VMI. I've walked these walls. I've been around these places. So I felt this was also a really good fit for me, because that matters.
It does matter. And what's really interesting is in this day and age of this new era of college athletics, we're seeing a lot of new ADs being hired from outside of an athletic department. They were, part of a sports commission or pro sports. You've had a pretty standard rise. You were an intern, you were the assistant director, the director, all the way up to senior associate AD as your last role. Talk to me about that experience of your career trajectory. Were there any moments where you thought, I'm not on track? Did you think I need to do something different? This isn't for me. Talk to me about that.
I think sometimes, Steph, you see others moving around and you're thinking, man, I need to be there. I need to be here. I just learned I got to run my own race. And I had some really good supervisors that I told them where I wanted to get to, and they said, well, these are the things you got to do while you're here. And I think it's very important to have those supervisors that understand what your goals are and then invest in that. So I wasn't always in a rush. I knew where I wanted to go, but I knew like this was preparing me to get there. And I had to do these things in order to be, a good teammate and obviously a good person helping out the good of the group.
Well, as we think about your trajectory, I really want to know, was there maybe something you had to change in your habits, in your routine? Did you have to give anything up? Did you have to implement any new routines or rituals as you were continuing to grow as a leader, as you were ascending, from, again, that assistant director to director? Did you have to say, I have to wake up an hour earlier to get into the office on time? Tell me a little bit about those habits that you had to implement.
I think one of the big habits is as you move up, you're managing people. And, when I was assistant to the AD at Savannah State, I was not managing anyone. Then you start managing GAs, and you start managing assistant directors, and you start managing more of an area and then a division. So to me, I had to realize that as a supervisor, as a boss, I have to understand how I can help make Stu great, how I can help make Phil great. And I want to give them the ability to feel that their voices are heard, but they also have the expectations and the vision of what we're trying to do. So you really have to be able to make sure that you can clearly communicate what you want from that person and give them the ability to grow and also have fun. I'm someone that, one person may go from this point to that point this way, and the other person may go this way. But if we're getting to the goal, it doesn't really matter. As long as it's helping us move forward, I'm okay with that. So I've learned that my way may be something that I just say, here's the vision. But if I have some other people that have another way of doing it, hey, that's a great idea. Let's do it.
Have you ever had a moment, though, where someone, maybe not here at VMI, but in past managerial relationships, where someone did something you were like, I don't know if that's going to work, where you had to rein them in?
Yeah, I think that happens sometimes, but it's one of those things. If there's an idea and they really are trying to push it, let them try it. Let's learn from it. And sometimes it's like, hey, what do we learn? Is it something that is it something that we can change next time to make it better? But sometimes if you hold everything back and want to do it your way, I'm learning too, in this role, I don't have a lot of time to do everything. So I've got to set the boundaries and then allow them to do what they feel is best. But I think the awareness and the communication is important. When someone's on track, they're communicating with me what they're doing. All right, keep going. Maybe I'll add a couple things in, but no, keep going. You're doing good.
Outside of the office, outside of the facilities, I do want to know, what is a habit or a lifestyle habit that you've implemented as you've, again, grown as a leader, that you think has contributed to your success? Are we doing, 100 push-ups a day? What is that kind of, what is that secret sauce?
One of the things I need to do is work out more, because I think I got here, when I was in Washington, I was a little bit more like fit. Now I'm like, so I got to get back. So I think one of the habits I try to do is understand what are the balls that can bounce and the balls that can break. And that's priority. There's a lot of things that come across my desk, and I got to realize what is the most important thing. I'm somebody that is a pleaser naturally, so I want to do everything. I want to help everybody. But in this role, I've got to figure out, in the time that I'm here, what makes the most sense. So that's one habit. And then the other thing is, you need to make time for your family. You need to make time for your spouse and kids, and it's tough. So I really try to involve them. I want our staff, I want our coaches to bring their families here. Again, there's a time and place for everything, but you gotta have that release where you're a dad, where you're a husband, because that's so important. And it's good for our staff to see that as well, because sometimes it's tough. Like, can I bring my kids around? Like, yeah, man. I mean, we want you to be comfortable, because in this space, we work around each other a lot and we ask a lot from each other. So I want people to feel comfortable and not just see themselves as a title, but as a person, because that's what matters at the end of the day.
You're a first-time AD, you've had some amazing mentors, but what is one thing you wish someone told you earlier in your career journey?
Wow, I think that's a good question. I think to enjoy the process, to enjoy the moment. When I was at, and it's not like I was looking forward, but sometimes you don't realize how you're helping a student athlete or the difference you're making. Sometimes it's the game's over, you're going to the next thing on your list. But I just think if I could do it all over again, I would take more time to get to know the student athletes and get to know who they are as a person. I have a chance to do that a lot more, because as the athletic director, I'm moving around and I'm getting to know more of the athletes and their parents. But even at that younger age, I'm 41 now, still, I like to think I'm still young. I think that's what I wish I would do, is connect more and listen to the athletes, because sometimes we get around the table and we think we know everything. Like, this is what everybody needs. No, check with the athletes and really see, is this helpful? Is it hindering them? So that's probably what I would do, is place a focus on them a little bit more.
What's really interesting is you just said, as the AD, you actually feel as if you get some good face time with the athletes. There are some, leaders in the industry who feel like being in the AD chair takes them away from that connection with the athletes. Talk to me about how you make that happen.
Yeah, I'm somebody that likes to get out of my office and get around, go to practice. With me living on post, I kind of have a cheat code. So I'll go to the mess hall. I'll go to the PX where they're eating burgers and fries and, they're hanging out. But it's one of those things I just like to relate. I like to know. and my door's always open, but sometimes I'll walk posts and I'll see somebody and I'll say, Rob, Virginia Mill, and how's your day going? So to me, I am an athletic director, but I'm also Jamaal Walton. I'm a person that just wants to get to know you. And sometimes it's just them walking past my office and I'm like, hey, how's your day going? So I think you need to be intentional, and it goes back to the time. You need to make time. You need to be intentional to make that time in order for them to understand that you care. Because when people know that you care, they're going to go the extra mile for you. I'll show up to some SAC meetings, but we're a small shop here. So there's a lot of our staff that go above and beyond to do so many other different things that you kind of have those touch points. And that's one of the secret sauces of being at a place like VMI.
Do you find that the cadet athletes are really drawn to you because you've lived their experience?
It helps. I mean, it helps sometimes if someone's like, man, I got a demerit because of this. And I'm like, hey, what did you actually do? Or can I help you work through that? So yeah, being able to say, I wore the uniform, I understand how you feel, but also look what you have in front of you. Look at the opportunities. Did you talk to your coach about that? Are you frustrated about this because of this? Or here's some resources you should look into. So I do feel that I can kind of almost throw a lob and let them slam dunk it in just because I can, be more of a point guard, a facilitator.
What's interesting about your career is you spent a lot of time in the South, the Southeast, and then you went West. You went to Washington, very, very different environment. Talk to me about your time with the Huskies. You were with Jen Cohen. You're on her senior leadership team.
Yeah.
What's
up, Jen? I hope you're listening.
Well, you were there when you made the big jump to leave the Pac-12 to go to the Big Ten. You were there when you were in the CFP national title game. Talk to me about that experience and what it taught you.
Yeah, I like to say I got my master's from MRU, and I got my doctorate from JCU, Met Roberts. And then I got my doctorate at Jen Cohen University. Jen had energy. You know that.
I know.
Right. She had energy. When you walked in the room, she made you feel like $1,000,000. And I remember she talked about everybody has a superpower. So I want to help you take your superpower and help our department. So I just learned that too. We got some great people here at BMI that have all these superpowers. Let's work to showcase those things. And that's one of the things that she taught me, but also their senior leadership team was such a collaborative group, great people. They cared about the student athlete experience. They cared about each other, and they just loved being around each other. So that was kind of what I want to create here. And obviously, University of Washington is a great place. As I was moving along when Jen left, Troy Dannon came in, Pet Chun came in. So again, just great people. And it's also one of those places, I worked with some great coaches, Heather Tarr, softball coach, Danny Sprinkle, men's basketball coach. I mean, so many great people, and they cared. And they also, you saw Heather Tarr at the basketball game. You saw all of the coaches supporting each other. It wasn't, we're just going to stay in our space. It was a team effort across the board.
Part of your background, a big part of your background is in marketing and external.
Yeah.
Give me a marketing lesson you learned from your time at UW. And I'm just thinking about the national title.
I would say one of the marketing lessons I learned, so I had the opportunity to oversee our Adidas account. So I worked day to day with Adidas. I learned how big of a brand University of Washington was. But the biggest thing I learned was how important a relationship is with our apparel provider. So now that we're with Under Armour, I know there's some things that I saw that Adidas did. And again, I know different level, different conference and whatnot, but I've also learned that we can do some things here at VMI with our brand. So having that experience, it showed me who are your vendors? How are you working with them? Are you maximizing it? Are you asking the right questions? Because they'll do a lot more for you. But sometimes when you get that sheet and you just see, this is okay. Let's be creative. Let's be able to find ways to expand how we can help our brand. So I think that was one of the things that I saw at a large stage, at a national, international stage, when we think about national championships. So that was one of the things that I learned, is being able to be in those rooms and learn that.
Be an active participant, not just take what you've been given and say, oh, thank you. I love that. Well, here at VMI, you've just wrapped the Compete to Win 3-day crowdfunding campaign. And then last year's campaign set lots of records. Talk to me about this year and anything you did differently.
Yeah. we ask for more money. But no, we've got great supporters, donors, supporters, parents, alumni. So I think one of the things that we did differently, we were more intentional to involve our cadet athletes in content. They did such a great job. There were some funny videos, there were some, crazy videos, but it was all about finding ways to help our department move forward. So Compete to Win, it helps our operational budget. We don't have the biggest budgets in the world, so we need those operational dollars to help. Now, last year, I think we just pushed it through social media. We pushed it through all different mechanisms because you just can't send an email and think this is going to work. But I think this year we worked better with the Cadet Club. The Cadet Club also had a lot of campaigns that they did through Facebook, paid campaigns. And we also just worked with our coaches to make sure that they realize you need to make sure you're connecting with your alums. You need to make sure you're connecting with those former players, whether it's making calls, being proactive instead of being reactive. Now, the numbers, we're still figuring out how this year went, but it's pretty close. It's pretty close. But one of the things that I did, and I'm all about doing fun stuff, last year I went back to VMI as a cadet because we raised a certain amount of money. So we did hit that goal already. So I'm going back as a cadet for 24 hours. We raised $40,000. It was a big thing. So again, I'm willing to do those things as an AD, the funny stuff, just because it don't matter to me. Like at the end of the day, it's all about the team. And I'm a part of the team. And if I can do stuff like that and it works, let's go.
Well, I love the tapping into the athletes and their power in social media and their presence. So of course that brings us to NIL. And so I'm really curious and educate me here. I know that at at Army West Point, at the Naval Academy, there are some restrictions for those cadet athletes because of their military association. Here at VMI, ROTC is required, but you are not required to go and be in the military after graduating. So what is the reality of NIL here? What are the rules? What are the restrictions?
Yeah, I think when I got to VMI, NIL was kind of the black cat that everybody said, stay in the corner. We don't talk about that here. But over time, I think we understood that we can be in this space, we can be VMI, and we can do it the right way. So I think education was the first thing that I wanted to do as I got in here. Have an opportunity to be at the University of Washington. In my role, I was working day to day in NIL, and I think that was important. So I was able to say, if you're telling me that we have some athletes that want to be entrepreneurs, we don't think that that's something we can build upon. This is college athletics. This is academics, academic institution. So I think when people started to realize, I'm not saying $2 million, $3 million deals. I'm saying let's help someone build their brand. Now, we've had some opportunities where we've had some cadet athletes get some deals. We have some entrepreneurship opportunities for some of them, but we're also educating them. If you make X amount of dollars, Uncle Sam's still going to come and find you. So make sure you know how to do that. So we're excited. We actually have a group deal that we're going to announce pretty soon with a company where multiple athletes are working with a nutritional company, but they wanted to work with us because they know that VMI cadet athletes are disciplined, they're structured, and they're great people. I mean, when you think about what you're looking at in the profile, it's a great person in general. So we're excited about the NIL space. We're not moving around from it. We're going to be who we are, but we're also going to make sure you're honorable. We're going to make sure you still have integrity, doing the VMI things the VMI way. That doesn't change.
Well, and VMI is the first military affiliated institution to have a deal with the NIL shop.
Yeah.
And so to be able to say you can still get your gear, that has maybe an athlete's number or name.
And Steph, that's what I'm talking about. Our athletes, they were excited because they're a part of what everybody else is doing. And it's a great branding for VMI. It's a great branding opportunity for the athletes. So when you go to the baseball games, when you show up to the water polo matches, you see the parents wearing that, and that helps VMI. So those were the conversations I had to have with administration to say, this is good for us, and but I learned at Washington about the NIL store. So again, as an AD, bring some of those ideas to the place that you're going to, and you can do those things. So if you're out there and you're trying to be an AD, put in your bag all of those different things you want to do to where when you get that opportunity, you can pull them out.
But with that, I'm curious so you brought, your toolbox here with all these different experiences and ideas. How did you parcel them out in a way where you didn't come on day one and say, and we're doing this and this and this and this, and people say, whoa, calm down. I mean, you have institutional knowledge here. You know how the energy works. You know how maybe it might take some time to convince folks, whether that's administration or cadet athletes, that, hey, then you can do this, like this works. Talk to me about kind of the timing and how you were able to read the room, so to speak.
So when I got here, I met with every person in the department, and I mean every person in the department. And I know Brian Blair just got the job at Syracuse, so shout out to B. Blair. He gave me a survey that he actually was utilizing at his former institution. I did that on the front end, so I was able to see, all right, Steph, okay, this is what she thinks about the project. Lenny, okay, Stu. So I was able to see stuff on the front end, but I said I brought my tool bag. I also didn't have to take everything out the tool bag because I started
dump it out.
Because as I met with people, I'm saying, that's a good idea, Stu. We've never been able to do that here. Okay, well, let's do that. So I think it's probably a few things that I just pulled out, like NIL store. That's an easy win. I know that connect. But there were a few ideas. I'm like, I don't even have to pull anything out because we've got great people, but we got to empower them and we got to show them that we want to invest in that.
Well, relatedly, in your time as AD now, you've been tasked with, securing and renewing some coaches that you want to keep on. And then, of course, hiring new coaches, including a new football head coach, Ashley Ingram.
Yeah.
Walk me through. Let's go.
Yeah.
Walk me through that experience. Again, you've been an outstanding sports supervisor. You've supported head coaches, but this is the first time you've been the one making the call.
Oh, yeah. Man, as our former coach moved on, I was in this room. I met with our players. I told them we're going to be quick, but not in a hurry. General Finesse, our superintendent, he's vertically aligned with athletics. He understands that this is important. And we said we were going to go and attack this search. It was 15 days. I went and I talked to my wife. She probably was ready to hit me upside the head with a hammer because it was during Christmas time. It was during the tough time. So I learned that I had to sacrifice, but it was a good sacrifice for who we got in Coach Ingram and what he's already implementing and the rest of the assistant coaches. But it's one of those things. We worked with a Kingdom Coaching to help us with the search, and it was awesome. But we also had a great team that knew what our goal was. So we were in the foxhole the 22nd, the 23rd, Christmas Eve. Let's take a break Christmas, and then we were back on the 26th. And then we had everything in place before the transfer portal opened because we knew how important that was. And we also had a liaison of athletes that I kept in touch and told them what we were doing. Not the details, but hey, this is where we're at. I think that was so important. And I think that they're understanding that we've got a really good person that's not going to be demeaning, but demanding. And I think for what we needed, he's the right coach for it.
That's the dream.
But yeah, it was a whirlwind. I mean, I think Christmas Eve, I was working with Santa Claus, and then I was also like looking at resumes still and trying to set up travel plans, and so it was crazy. But I mean, if you're an AD, you got to be ready. It's never a perfect time, so we had to get it done.
A little bit of a trial by fire, but obviously it worked out for the best. And I'm hopefully your kids had a great Christmas.
Yeah, they did. My birthday was on December 22nd, so I was eating birthday cake and still looking at resumes. But again, it comes with a job.
Well, you had a great birthday present, landing a great coach.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, you mentioned your superintendent, and you were actually hired by a former superintendent. And so talk to me a little bit about, I've kind of a two-part question. Talk to me about the transition of leadership, at the top here at VMI and how you've acclimated. But then on the other side, the broader big picture, the vision for VMI. You're in a 10-year strategic plan for the Institute. How does athletics fit into that? Yeah.
Well, first and foremost, General Wins, who's our former superintendent, I'm always going to be indebted and appreciative of him giving me the opportunity to be the athletic director here at my alma mater, which is his alma mater. But now with General Finesse, he's awesome. He understands we have what's called the three-legged stool here at VMI. It's academics, it's athletics, and it's military leadership. We have to have that balance. And then the honor of how we do things here is always at the top. So you're on the money with the strategic plan, but we also are creating a new strategic plan. And it's under the direction of General Finesse. But one of the things that he realizes is we have to invest more in athletics. He understands that there needs to be a focus placed on athletics. So after the VMI strategic plan is created, we're already developing an athletic operations plan, which is kind of a strategic plan. So that's what we're going to set forth where we're going in the next 5 years. And we want to have a campaign to find out how we can get resources, how we can get the things to not just compete, but to win. And that's the overall goal. And he's a winner. He likes to win, and I like to win. And our coaches and our athletes want to do that as well. So I think having a vertical alignment with the current superintendent and seeing his vision of wanting to be a premier liberal arts college in a military environment, knowing that and understanding that athletics is a part of that. He said it. Our athletes are the most visible cadets on post when they're on the ESPN platform, when they're on national TV, when they're here on the, in our, on the facilities here on post. So we want to make sure they're the best that they can be, whether that's rest, refuel, and recovery, whether that's how they feel mentally, physically, and just making sure that we create the ultimate athlete, ultimate cadet, here at VMI. That's also a leader, because that's an important piece here too.
That's a huge piece. That's part of the whole profile of a BMI cadet and cadet athlete. Well, kind of as we start to wrap up, I have to ask, the newsy kind of question, which is, VMI is going to be opting into the House settlement for 2026, 2027. Walk me through the decision-making process and how that's going to impact anything from a operational, structural standpoint, and then of course how it's going to impact the the cadet athlete experience.
Well, it's one of those things. When we got to the summertime, we had a lot of transition with our superintendent. I was starting off as an athletic director, and we felt the best decision for VMI was to opt out. But we were very intentional in saying, let's put a working group together to figure out, does this make sense for the future? So as General Finesse came in, we were able to do a lot of workshops, talking to the NCAA, talking to different companies that have this, talking to other coaches, not other coaches, but other athletic directors and universities that have been in the space. So by December, we realized we can do this. We had the investment from the Cadet Club, and correct, we are opting in for 26, 27. So what have we been doing? We've been exploring what systems are out there that can help us to maximize this and to do this the right way. We've also, right now, we're developing agreements. We're figuring out what to do and how to do it. And we're working with a sports law team that's helping us as well. We're working with our coaches to make sure that they understand the importance of this. And our athletes, we're going to make sure when the time comes, they're educated and they're aware. But we're also a department. I told them, hey, we are opting in. I sat in front of camera, talked to them in front of, talked to the entire athletic department, said, this is what we're doing. I didn't want to hide anything. And, from the roster limit piece, that's something that we're still exploring. Maybe there are some opportunities where we can probably get a waiver. But again, those are things that are valuable to us, but it comes up to a point at a place like VMI. If we want to evolve, we've got to also realize we've got to do these things. But again, we can still be VMI. So we're excited. We're learning a lot. We're asking a lot of questions, but we want to make sure we do it the right way.
You mentioned that you are going to spend 24 hours back as a cadet.
Yeah.
What are you most looking forward to for that 24-hour period?
Wow. I would say probably marching down for BRC. When you see the cadets, when the drum beat's starting, that's probably one of the things I think, because it gets the cadets excited. Like last year, I was the first company that marched down to the mess hall, and the baseball team was actually coming up from lift. They were like, Mr. Wall, no, oh wow. So just being able to get everybody excited, and I think marching down would be kind of cool. And I'm sure saluting a couple people will be kind of a unique thing too, because I haven't done that in a while as a cadet.
It's going to be a good time. Well, Jamaal Walton, Director of Athletics here at VMI, thank you so much for hosting us and for sharing so much. We're so excited to see where the Institute goes under your leadership.
Yes. And Steph, thank you and what you do. Like, this platform is awesome. I appreciate your voice and what you're doing for everyone in this community. So I appreciate it. And I'm glad you came to VMI and saw what we're doing. So let's end this thing with the raw Virginia meal. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, and we're going to do a raw Virginia meal. Here we go.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Raw Virginia meal.
This episode of the One Question Leadership Podcast is produced by Spades Media Group, solving problems using creative leadership.